I now present to you the mayor of the great city of Jersey City, Mayor Fulop.
Similar to Richard Smith. Where's Richard Smith? Okay. Buenas tardes, mis hermanos y hermanas. Mis palabras yo trato en español, ¿ok? Primero, yo quiero compartir que yo tengo un profesor de español y yo estudio mucho porque es importante para mi comunidad. Yo tengo muchos latinos en Jersey City, es importante. Yo estudio mucho, pero yo conozco que mi español no es perfecto, yo hablo como un gringo. Y cuando yo estudio con mi profesor, yo sueño una cosa, que yo sueño que un día que yo hablo mejores de alcalde Michael Bloomberg. Claro que es un día importante porque hay 200 personas aquí en enero, en un sábado, en la mañana, porque yo creo que nosotros tenemos una oportunidad grande por New Jersey, no solamente por la comunidad latina, pero toda New Jersey. En el año próximo, nosotros tenemos una oportunidad por cambiar por todos en New Jersey. En la oficina del gobernador y también en la legislature. Y en Jersey City es una ciudad que es un líder en muchas cosas que es importante por Jersey City y todos New Jersey. Primero por paid sick leave, Fight for 15, primero por affordable housing, veteran housing, y yo creo que en el año próximo, que cuando nosotros trabajamos juntos, mañana es un mejor día de hoy. ¿Sí? I'm going to try some stuff in English now, okay? But let me take a second and say thank you to Frank and Chris and the entire Latino network for being an advocate for things that are important to me. And when I say things that are important to me, I'm not just talking about lip service or sponsoring legislation. The one thing I hope to convey in the next 5 to 10 minutes is why these things are fundamentally important to me and my family and my upbringing. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself. January 27th this week was actually a significant day on two fronts for me. First, was my fiance's birthday, newly engaged. Okay? And secondly, it was a International Holocaust Remembrance Day. I share that with you. It's not a day that many people in this room would recognize or think about. To me, I do think about that because my family's Holocaust survivors. My grandmother was in Auschwitz, my grandfather was in a labor camp. Most of my family actually perished in the gas chambers. My mother's sisters perished in the gas chambers. And my family, my grandparents, immigrated, like many of you in this room, to this country without family, without anything other than a belief that things could be better in this country. No support system. They bought a piece of property in Newark, not far from here. My mom and my dad have been there for 40 years working in a deli. My parents do. And so I fundamentally know what the opportunities are in this country, and I believe it because it's very close to my upbringing. I saw growing up that my parents, as hard as they worked, 3 o'clock in the morning, my father would get up to go to that deli. The newspapers would arrive in front of his deli at 4 o'clock in the morning. In Newark, if you're not there to accept the newspapers when they come, they will no longer be there. And so I tell you, he was there every day from that point in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. And when my father would get home, we'd have dinner together, and he would say the same thing every day. I'd say, Dad, how was your day? And he would say, lousy, because he worked very hard. And they spent every dollar they had to make sure that me and my two brothers had an education and an opportunity to have a better life than they do. So when I look at my public service and the things that we are fighting for, it is based on that belief. I tell you, when I graduated college, the first job that I got was a job at a very prestigious investment bank in 1999, the best investment bank in the entire world. And you could imagine how proud my parents were at that point. Their kid, their boy, that they immigrated to this country, has a job that he can make a tremendous amount of money potentially. And I tell you, my life changed on September 11th. Everybody in this room has a story based on September 11th. I'll tell you, my story was that I was in the second year of this job, working 2 blocks away from the World Trade Center. I was in a place that I could actually feel the building shake, actually feel it. And it changed my life because I looked at where I was today and said, well, how do I want to judge myself in 10, 20, 30 years from now? Do I want to look back and say that I devoted myself to that, or do I want to be a part of something different? So I went to my managers the next day and I told them that I was leaving. I was leaving Goldman Sachs. I was going to enlist in the Marine Corps. And they thought I was crazy. And I did. I enlisted in the Marine Corps, and I viewed it at the time as a partial payment for citizenship. Nothing more, nothing less. I viewed it as a payment back to this country based on the fact that it gave so much to my family. That's what I believed at the time. I still believe it. So when you look at this rhetoric that's happening on the national stage today as it relates to immigration, it bothers me deeply because I know about my family, ultimately. I know about their commitment to this country, and that steeped my commitment to this country and the decisions I've made since then. So I would tell you that if you think about what's happened in Jersey City, it's based a lot on that principle of my upbringing. See, people would have you think in this country today that if you look at the news, they would have you think that if you are right-leaning, you are for a very strong economy, and you're for no regulation, and you're not socially conscious at all. You don't care about anybody other than strong business and that. And if you're left-leaning, then clearly all you care about is being socially conscious and spending money and more regulation, and you don't care about a strong economy. And what we've tried to do in Jersey City over the last couple of years is show that that is really a false choice. That we, ultimately, where we are coming from and the things that we are driving for, ultimately, can be both. It is not one or the other, that ultimately, when you lift people up, you lift everybody up, ultimately. In Jersey City, we are showing that that is a false choice. Every metrics in the state, from an economic state, we are leading the state of New Jersey. Construction starts, credit rating upgrades, decrease in unemployment, every single metrics. I tell you also, we are doing things that are important, ultimately, to being socially conscious. That was never hammered home more to me. I'll share with you something from a personal standpoint than a situation that happened 2 years ago. Why I know that the profession that I have chosen here, and many of you have, is ultimately the right place, and we are doing the work that is ultimately important. I want to share one quick thing for you. So I've been in office now for 8 years on the city council, and I won for mayor a little bit more than 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Very, very tough election. And you have a lot of different experiences dealing with a lot of different people over the last 10.5 years in office. So nothing impacted me more, reaffirming the commitment that I have to the causes that we talk about: education, immigration, affordable housing, opportunity to equalize different communities, than an issue that happened a year and a half ago. It happened with a Latino gentleman named Melvin Santiago. I want to share with you a situation that happened there, because some of you may know about Melvin Santiago. Melvin Santiago was part of an initiative that we had in Jersey City to enlist and recruit more minority police officers. Predominantly at the time, it was Latino police officers that we were recruiting. We really wanted to make sure in Jersey City, as the home of Ellis Island, the gateway to the United States, eyesight of the Statue of Liberty, that our police department reflected the community, which it didn't for a long time. So Melvin Santiago was part of that recruitment. Many of you read about Melvin Santiago. You may not even realize who he is when I say this, but you will remember the story. Melvin Santiago was an individual who was killed in the line of duty a year and a half ago in Jersey City. I actually got a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning from our public safety director, who said, "You need to get dressed." Police officer was shot. And of course, I got dressed, got to the Jersey Medical Center as quickly as possible, and they brought in Melvin Santiago. He just arrived, and he had a bullet hole in his right eye, and he was lying deceased. Obviously, his mother came in about 2 minutes after that, and she kept saying, "That can't be Melvin. Melvin just left for work. Mayor, are you sure it's badge number 2650? It can't be Melvin." And then she touched Melvin and said, "Melvin's very cold. We need blankets for Melvin." Again and again and again. Now, I tell you that because in the days that followed were some of the more eye-opening experiences in the last 10 years about that work that we ultimately do. So, in the days that followed, Jersey City did the best job possible to recognize a young Latino police officer who gave his life to Jersey City, who raised his hand to serve in the hardest part of Jersey City, where he grew up actually, because he wanted to make a difference. He embodied everything that we wanted in a police officer, that anybody wants in a police officer. And so, Melvin Santiago, we memorialized, but there was a component in the community that also put a memorial up for the person who shot him. His name was Lawrence Campbell. Cold assassinated Melvin Santiago. It bothered me greatly that somebody in the community, a whole segment of the community, would put up a memorial to a person who assassinated a police officer. So we had our public works take it down. We're not going to be a city that obviously memorializes somebody who kills a police officer. We took it down, and the community put it back up, actually. And then I had it taken down again. And for a year, I've actually thought about it. And then I came to the conclusion that that minority component of the community wasn't talking about the individual, Lawrence Campbell, who assassinated Melvin Santiago. They were talking about a lot of the issues that you deal with day in and day out. That there tends to be in a lot of our urban areas a tale of two cities. There are people that are left behind, ultimately. And that really reaffirmed to me the mission, ultimately, that we have. Jersey City today is a leader, like I said, on every socially conscious, progressive issue in the entire state of New Jersey. And why? Because of issues like that, because I recognize the fact that there are parts of the community that are left behind and they can't speak for themselves ultimately. So there are people like you in this room that need to speak on their behalf. Paid sick leave, we were the first in the state of New Jersey to do it. I'm proud of that. The fight for 15. I am committed, I tell you by the end of this year, that we will be the first city in the state of New Jersey that every one of our employees will make $15. I tell you that because it goes back to the belief system that we have in Jersey City, that yes, I am a proponent of being a $15 minimum wage. I cannot sit here and stare at you in a straight face and say I am a proponent for that if I'm not acting out the same way. When I'm responsible for 3,000 employees in Jersey City, if I'm telling you that I believe it, then I must act in that way as well. So I'm telling you, Jersey is going to be a leader on that. Affordable housing, a leader on that. Job opportunities, a leader on that. Bridging the gap here. And that ultimately comes back to Latino Action Network, Chris and Frank. Because here we are, and your entire board that was here, to be honest with you. Because the best ideas that we have as elected officials, truthfully, don't come from us. They come from people like you. And it's the people like you that inspire us to try and do better, ultimately. Because we see you guys out there. It's not your name in the light, it's not your name in the newspaper, but you are the ones that are advocating and making us change. And so your voice is so important to the dialogue over the next year and the dialogue over the next 5 years. And so when they asked me to come here and be a part of it and share a little bit about my background and what I believe, I couldn't be more excited because I really believe that this is a partnership that will grow long, long into the future. Thank you for having me, and I guess they say if there's any questions, we're happy to take them.